Hey there, movie fans. Welcome to the blues of October 2017. Now, if you're a regular viewer of my videos, you know that these October updates are basically Halloween updates, meaning that the majority of movies that I picked up over the past month are horror movies. But before I'm going to show you the horror movies, I'd like to show you a couple of non-horror titles first. And that is The Wonderful Worlds of Ray Harryhausen, Volume 1. This is a beautiful box set from Indicator, limited to 6,000, as you can see there. And here's lots of bonus material and other information about the films. This is It Came From Beneath the Sea. This also includes the it includes two different versions. You have the original black and white version and the colorized version. And I've never been a fan of colorized versions of black and white films. I think I've only seen one colorized version of the original King Kong from 1933, and that looks absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible, and I kind of decided never to watch these colorized versions ever again. So whenever I'm going to check this movie out, it's going to be the original black and white version. The next one is 20 Million Miles to Earth. This is really my favorite Harryhausen movie, next to Jason and the Argonauts, which will be included in the next box set, Volume 2, that is coming out very soon. And the third and last title is The Three Worlds of Gulliver, which is the only Harryhausen movie I have never seen. And there's a good reason for that, and that is because I've never been a fan of this story. I know it's a classic story and that it has been adapted to the screen many times, but for some reason it just I'm just not fond of it. But I will watch this film eventually, of course. But this is the only film that has been restored in 4K. The other ones aren't in 4K, unfortunately. But you cannot always get what you want, right? And here's a look at the booklet there. With many informations and interviews, essays, and what have you. Looks fantastic, doesn't it? Yeah, great box set. And now we're slowly getting into the horror titles that I've gotten. This is the latest box set from Arrow Video. George A. Romero, Between Night and Dawn. This set contains the three films that Romero has made between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, hence the title Between Night and Dawn. And let me show you what it's got. There's Always Vanilla, which I've never seen before actually. Here's the original artwork. Ooh. Season of the Witch. Now this contains two versions. You have the theatrical version, which is 90 minutes, and the alternate extended version, which is 104 minutes. There is another version, which is 130 minutes, but that one is considered lost. Here's the other artwork, by the way. And of course, it has some interesting extras, including, and this is definitely a favorite of mine, although I haven't seen the entire interview yet, but it's when Romero met Del Toro, filmmaker Guillermo Del Toro, in conversation with George Romero. I'm a huge fan of both of these filmmakers, so can't wait to sit down and see what their conversation is about. It's about an hour long, I believe. And the last one is The Crazies. Really good film. Really good film. This is I've already have the Blue Underground edition as well. But I think the transfer of this Arrow release is a lot better because it is restored in 4K. Love the newly commissioned artwork, by the way. Looks very nice. And of course there is the booklet here. It's a shame that Romero is not with us anymore, but his legacy lives on. Okay, the next one is Split Second, which is a decent sci-fi horror film with Rutger Hauer as a detective who is obsessed with a serial killer he's hunting down. And you know, interestingly enough, you know, if you take a look at some of the names that were involved in the making of this film, Tony Mayland, the director, he also made The Burning. Gary Scott Thompson, he is the creator of the Fast and Furious franchise. I mean, he created and wrote the first movie. So if you have to blame somebody for the Fast and Furious franchise, blame him. And Stephen Norton, he was known as a special effects guy. You know, he designed the creature of this movie. And later on, he became a director. He directed The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and the experience of that film was so bad that he decided never to direct ever again. But he also directed Blade. And speaking of Blade, I have upgraded the trilogy on Blu-ray here. Really love the Blade movies. Trinity is, you know, the weakest one in my opinion, but it does have its moment. Next one is Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Now this is guerrilla independent filmmaking at its brutal best. Michael Rooker is unforgettable. It's an amazing film, absolutely. Riki-Oh, The Story of Ricky. This is crazy fun. An insane combination between kung fu and splatter horror. I mean, this is so over the top. You gotta love it. Innocent Blood. Very happy that this has gotten a Blu-ray release. I have this movie on VSS. It's not an official VSS release. It was on television once, and I recorded it on tape. And now I can get rid of that tape. But the plot is basically, you know, a French vampire woman versus the Italian mafia, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. There's also some cameos of people that ought to seem very familiar to horror fans. Tom Savini is in it as a photographer. Sam Raimi, Dario Argento even as a paramedic. Linnea Quigley as a nurse. Forrest J. Ekman, and you know, a lot of familiar faces from the horror world. But yeah, very happy to have this finally. Next one is In the Mouth of Madness. This is one of John Carpenter's better films. You know, I think this one's very overlooked. It doesn't really get much praise as it deserves. And the story, it's a bit like a Stephen King story, you know, mixed with Lovecraftian elements, and it's good. It's really good. You know, Sam Neill plays an investigator who has to track down Sutter Kane, who's this, you know, very popular horror writer who has mysteriously disappeared. And yeah, really good film. Really good film. And speaking of John Carpenter, I managed to get a copy of The Thing from Arrow. This was sold out very quickly, as well as the Steelbook, which I do not have, and I'm just not interested in the Steelbook. But I am interested in this beauty. Another brilliant release from the guys from Arrow. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen this release in other people's videos, or perhaps you have already you have them yourself. But here's some art cards, or reproductions of the original lobby cards, I have to say. Yeah, that's it. And of course you have the, get in there. You have the booklet and a poster, which is pretty big. Two-side poster, I believe it is. There's one side. And you have the original artwork there. There's the other one. And of course the booklet. Love The Thing. It's one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Absolutely top 5 of the best horror films ever made. If I could ever do a top 5, that is. Yeah, beautiful release, beautiful release. And here is yet another Arrow release, Children of the Corn. This is a US only Arrow release, not available in the UK because another company has the rights to this movie in the UK. Not a fan of the sequels, although to be honest, I don't remember much of the sequels. But that's never a good thing, is it? But yeah, another nice release. And those, excuse me, and those has a short film adaptation based on the same story by Stephen King, Disciples of the Crow, that came a year before this movie. I never knew that. I never heard of this film before, so I'm going to check this out as well. Yeah, and beautiful slipcase, by the way. Very nice. The next one is 976 Evil, Robert Englund's directorial debut. I believe he only directed 2 movies in his career, which is a shame because he really got the talent for it. But this is an underrated gem, in my opinion. And it was very nice revisiting this movie after more than 2 decades. I remember the first time I saw this was on German television, and I was a teenager back then. And in those days, German television and Dutch television were showing horror movies from mainly the 1970s and 1980s. And they don't do that anymore, or at least Dutch television don't show these kind of movies anymore. And that's why we have them on DVD and Blu-ray, so we can watch them whenever we want to, right? But this is a wonderful release from Columbia, and I think they're trying to cash in on the success of companies like Arrow and Scream Factory. So hopefully they're going to do more of these kinds of release in the future. I picked up these 2 Blue Underground titles, The Lift and the English language remake Down, also known as The Shaft. I think The Shaft is a better title in my opinion. But anyway, I've showed these 2 Blu-rays in my previous videos, which is my Nether Horror Collection video. And The Lift, they're basically both about killer elevators, or deadly elevators, killing people and all that. The original one is considered a classic, and rightly so. It's a beautiful release, beautiful transfer as well. There's nothing wrong with the transfer as far as I can tell. Which is something, there was a problem with the Blu-ray of Amsterdam, also by Blue Underground. But I received the correct Blu-ray of Amsterdam a couple of weeks back from Blue Underground, so that's really good. Thank you for that. And the movie looks fantastic now, doesn't it? The remake, you should only watch this if you want to have a good laugh. I mean, this is one of those so bad is good kind of a movies, Some of the acting is bad. The dialogue is bad. I mean, writing dialogue has never really been one of Dick Maas's best qualities. But it's enjoyable, It's enjoyable, or at least I enjoyed. Nice booklet there. There's the alternate artwork, The Shaft. And it had some really good actors in it as well. Michael Ironside is in it, Ron Perlman, Dan Hedaya. And this movie has some very bad luck. I mean, it came out in Holland a week before 9/11, and it's also unintentionally associated with 9/11. It takes place in New York, and there's a moment in the movie where they talk about terrorism, and even the name Osama bin Laden is mentioned at one point. And it took 2 years until this movie, finally came out in the United States. 2 years after 9/11, it went directly to DVD. But let me show you the artwork of the other Blu-ray there. This is the American artwork. There's also the booklet as well. Yeah, two very fine releases. Next one is season 2 of Ash vs. Evil Dead. Absolutely loved it. I had a blast watching this, and the scene in the morgue in episode 2, that was brilliant. I could not stop laughing. It was absolutely hilarious. I cannot wait for the next season. Really loved it. And speaking of Bruce Campbell, he plays Elvis Presley in Bubba Ho-Tep. And this has a fantastic original concept. I mean, it's basically Elvis Presley and John F. Kennedy versus a mummy who suck the souls of old people through their assholes. That's all you need to know, right? If that doesn't get you excited for this movie, then I don't know what does. For years there has been talks about a sequel, which was going to be called Bubba Nosferatu, and there were rumors that Campbell was not going to be in it. He's not going to play Elvis, but that Ron Perlman would play him instead. But now you don't hear anything about it anymore. So I guess it's either in development hell or it's completely dead. But great film. And I have a couple of more Scream Factory titles here. Slither, which is ridiculously entertaining. Obviously, James Gunn, the writer-director, who also did the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he got the idea of these worms from Night of the Creeps. So it's a bit of a throwback to 1980s sci-fi horror. But yeah, absolutely love this film. Black Christmas, a classic slasher. It's more of a Christmas horror film than a Halloween horror film. But you can easily watch this on Halloween as well. Next one is Child's Play. I was actually surprised that this came with a slip. This has been out for some time now, and only the first pressings has a slipcase. So I thought I was going to miss out on it, but I did get one. So I guess I got very lucky. Lucky Chucky. And speaking of Chucky, I also got the latest installment of the Chucky franchise. Cult of Chucky, with the lenticular slip there. I enjoyed it very much. It was different than the previous films, which I don't mind at all, by the way. But yeah, I liked it a lot, and I'm actually looking forward to the next one. I'm pretty sure there is going to be a next movie. There is a scene, by the way, after the credits. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it has a familiar face from one of the early films, and I guess this character will have a bigger role in the next movie. And last but not least, I have the 4-disc collector's edition of Tales of Halloween. Very enjoyable anthology horror film. Takes place around one day, which is, of course, October the 31st. Yeah, very nice release, this one. Oh, there has some collector's cards, as you can see there. Let me show you what disc it has inside. This is the Blu-ray with the movie, the DVD with the movie, the DVD with the bonus features, and the CD soundtrack. Very nice indeed. Let me show the contents of this set. It also has short films that were made by the directors of this anthology films. You can see the episodes and the directors underneath there. Darren Lynn Bousman, who directed many of the Saw sequels. Lucky McKee, who's an independent horror filmmaker, who did May and the Woods and The Woman and some other films as well. Neil Marshall, who did Doomsday and The Descent. And here's a list, the short list of short films that they have made. This one is my favorite, Thirsty. You can actually watch this on YouTube, by the way. And also you can watch this on YouTube as well, Hot Rod Worm, which is basically a music video by a band. Although, is it a band or is it just one singer? I'm not sure. But they're called the Slow Poisoner. And you can, I would recommend you watching this on YouTube, but I have to warn you, it's quite a catchy song. It's a very strange song, but very fun and very catchy. But yeah, very nice release, this one. Anyway, that is it for my October Halloween update. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and happy Halloween, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.